All right. How's everyone doing?
Good, Kendall.
Doing okay? All right, there's some of you in the back. I want you up here. Come get a chair. Come on, there's chairs up here. Come on. Come on. Boo, boo me. I don't care. Come on. Get a chair. Be part of the family. All right. So, as you grow older, those of you that are still young, you'll learn that your passions begin to change. So maybe some of you right now are passionate about sports or music or art or whatever. Those passions may stay the same throughout your whole life, and you may develop some new passions. So for me, one of the things that I've become passionate about as an adult is mental health. You've heard me discuss mental health before, bits and pieces here and there, but last fall we were planning for the spring, and we kind of decided let's each take a week and talk about something that we want to talk about. Let's not do a series, let's just talk about something that's just important to us. And there was no way that I was going to talk about anything other than mental health. As someone who struggles with her own mental health issues personally, I've become fascinated with this subject. I find myself researching causes, symptoms, stigmas, and realities of these diseases and wondering how I can be better about raising awareness and providing help for people who are dealing with these issues. So first of all, I want to give you a quick rundown of some of the diseases that go along with mental health and some of their stigmas. And so as you listen to these, some of the symptoms and things like that, I want you to think about yourself and think about people in your life who might be affected by these, okay? So I'm just going to go through a couple. There's a long list of them, but I'm just going to go through a couple today. So first one is depression. Depression is more than just feeling sad or going through a rough patch. Depression can be characterized by changes in sleep and appetite, lack of concentration, loss of energy, lack of interest, low self-esteem, hopelessness, and physical aches and pains. And so telling someone with depression to just get over it and be happy is like telling someone with cancer to just deal with it. We would never do that, right? Another one is anxiety. Now, all of us in this room will experience a little bit of anxiety at some point. Maybe you have a big test or a job interview or whatever. But when it becomes overwhelming and repeatedly impacts a person's life, it might be an anxiety disorder. So anxiety disorders have emotional and physical symptoms. So the emotional symptoms, some of them, are feelings of apprehension or dread, feeling tense and jumpy, feeling restless or irritable, and anticipating the worst and being watchful for signs of danger. And some physical symptoms are a pounding or racing heart, shortness of breath, upset stomach, sweating, tremors, twitches, headaches, fatigue, and insomnia. And so telling someone who's anxious or having a panic attack to just calm down is like telling someone with a broken leg to just walk it off. You wouldn't do that. Another one is eating disorders. When you become so preoccupied with food and weight issues that you find it hard to focus on other aspects of your life, it might be a sign of an eating disorder. Both overeating, undereating, and over-exercising can be characteristics of eating disorders. And the last one I want to point out is ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It's a developmental disorder where there are significant problems with attention, hyperactivity, or acting impulsively. ADHD is not just being hyper. It's being completely unable to focus or complete a task and constantly being plagued by fidgeting and inattention. So telling someone with ADHD to just pay attention is like telling someone with diabetes to just produce insulin. It doesn't work that way. And so those are just some of the ones that I wanted to share with you. The list goes on, and we're going to actually give you a resource where you can go and research this for yourself. But one person who had his own mental health issues was my cousin Aaron. I think we have a picture of him up here. Yep, there's my cousin Aaron. And Aaron battled depression and alcoholism for a long time and ended up committing suicide a couple weeks ago. And so when I went up for his funeral, his mom let us pick out some of his clothes to keep for ourselves, which was really cool. And so I got this jersey. And he was a huge Packers fan. So I'm not really a Packers fan. I'm still with the Cowboys, don't worry. But I will wear the Packers in support of my cousin. So Aaron's death has had a huge impact on my life and has re-inspired me to do what I can to tackle mental health issues. So to help me tell Aaron's story, I've brought along some guests. So my Uncle Tim is here, who was Aaron's dad, and Aaron's Uncle Rick is here. And so they're both going to come up and they're going to talk a little bit, and I hope that their different voices and perspectives can help you see the lasting impact that suicide has had and the importance of fighting this battle together. So I'll invite whichever of you wants to go first. Yeah. To come up.
We'll save the best for last.
All right.
Okay, all right. You know, as you can tell, Aaron was a great-looking kid. And he had a personality to match, okay? This kid was, you know, thoughtful, he was charismatic, he was everything you'd think of somebody who would not commit suicide. Sorry about that. But I will say that his first bout with depression was when he was 13, and he had contemplated suicide then. And so we sent him to the C Center here in Plano, and he got treatment for that. One of the things about treatment is that it really takes, and I'm no doctor, so anything I'm saying here is going to be opinion, but it takes more than just, you know, everybody thinks there's a magic pill or something, and there really isn't. I struggled with depression very young, which I didn't realize it was depression at the time. But, you know, I started drinking at a very early age, trying to self-medicate what I was having to deal with. And I think a lot of people who have struggled with depression, that's the case. But I pulled out a couple of things here from a book that I've been reading, Dying to Be Free, and it's written by Beverly Cobain, who is Kurt Cobain's cousin, who also struggled with depression and actually herself had tried to commit suicide. So there's a couple of things here that I'm just going to read out here. Hold on. Oh, am I on the wrong page? Okay, so here are some common characteristics for somebody who you know, may be contemplating suicide. Fear of failure. I don't know about you, but most of my best life lessons have been through my failures, and that's just part of life. Number 2, low self-esteem. Number 3, hopelessness. Number 4, childhood trauma. Number 5, communication problems. Number 6, prior suicide attempts. And some of these I've had, and you know, not the prior suicide attempts, but certainly the low self-esteem I had. You know, growing up and coming of age, you know, as a teenager is difficult. You know, your body's changing, your brain chemistry is changing. You know, everything is. Let's see. Family history of suicide is on the list. Effects of father figure. I know Aaron had his biological father. There was some issues there. Talent and high intelligence. Aaron was very intelligent. the semester before he commit suicide, he had got straight A's at University of Wisconsin, which is no, schlep of a school. Tendency to question life's meaning. That was Aaron. He just wasn't sure. He never could quite figure out where he was going or what his purpose was in this world. So anyway, that's just a few of the traits that may or may not be signs of depression and give us suicidal thoughts. I don't know about you, but I don't know too many people who haven't experienced at least one or more of those. And I think the most important thing to do is just to keep the communications open. One of the things that happened before Aaron did this was he had cut off communications from us for a few months. And, there, for whatever reason, they can have the tendency to, first off, minimize the problems they're having. And then second off, not let people know what's going on. And I think for me, in closing with what I'm saying here, communication, even if it's not your parent, your minister or a confidential friend, tell somebody, if you're having problems. So, because it is treatable. So, and it requires God's help for certain. So, that's all I got.
Oh, yeah, that one's the hardest. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to thank Kendall and Ann for allowing me to be here tonight. I am a Green Bay Packers fan, but only when they're winning. So, but actually, my sister Amy, when she was up visiting us just shortly, asked me if I would be willing to come up here and speak to the group, or at least be here tonight. And she said, you didn't have to speak if you don't want to, but I said, no, I'll come up and say a few things. So I just jotted down some notes, and I thought I'd just go over a couple of things. Seeing the picture of Aaron, it just saddens me because, like Tim was just saying, he's just had so many things about him that are just absolutely wonderful and beautiful. And I can't speak for anybody else in my family, but I didn't see a suicide coming. And I think, in a sense, that's kind of the point to this, is that it is a disease. I suffer from depression. There's a family history of depression. I don't know how far back it goes, but I have come from a family of 8. There's 8 siblings in the family, and I lost 2 brothers, not from suicide, but just from their lifestyles and such that they just sort of allowed their lives to sort of just deteriorate. And so when they passed away, it was tremendously sad, but I wasn't terribly surprised. With Aaron, I didn't see it. And I understand now better not what to really look for, because I'm not an expert at this, but I have gotten better at understanding what it's all about. And kind of what Kendall was saying, what Tim was saying, is that it really is important to have people around you that you can go to. And again, it could be your pastor, it can be a good friend of yours, it could be someone in confidence that you can come to, and it's nothing to be embarrassed about. If nothing else, I want to say there's absolutely nothing to be embarrassed about. If you feel like you have depression, or even if it's a moment of feeling depressed because there's a life event that has happened, it doesn't have to be chemical depression. It could be something that happens that's in a sense, a temporary thing that you might get over one day. I suffer from a depression that I was probably born with. I take medications, and I don't go around boasting about it, but I'm not embarrassed by it. So I think it's important to understand that it's really okay. It's kind of like other diseases people have, other ailments people go through. It's really the same thing in a sense. It's a medical condition. And the stigma really does need to change, and that's partly why I'm here to talk to you, because this is the first time I've ever experienced anybody committing suicide in my life. I mean, it just, when I got the phone call at 4:30 in the morning, I'm thinking, okay, this isn't good. Something's not right. And it was my sister Lynn telling me what happened, and I was just absolutely floored, as you can imagine. Aaron did reach out to me. He did. He was living in Madison, going to school up in Wisconsin, and long before he committed suicide, not long before, maybe a year before, he had called me because he had just broken up with his girlfriend. He was living alone in his apartment, and he asked me to come visit him, and I dropped everything and I went. And that's what you got to do. If someone's trying to get hold of you, trying to reach out to you, I don't care what you're doing. I don't care where you are. You drop it and you go. It could be a friend, it could be a family. If you can't get there, at least try to reach out to them best you can. And I went up there and I saw him and I talked to him. And I was just the kind of uncle that I am with him. I was being very practical with him, trying to understand what he was going through. And we talked, whatever was going on with him at the time is worked out. But at the same time, I think Aaron had some, just people can call them demons, not in a biblical way, but just thoughts, and he was ruminating a lot in his life. And I think that he just didn't share it with people. And I don't know why. Maybe because he was embarrassed. And I think it's really important to have people understand, again, that you don't have to be. There's a sort of a secrecy that's there, And like I said, I don't go around and telling people I suffer from depression. But if anybody certain people, I guess, I wouldn't want to know, but most people I wouldn't mind saying so. And when we went to the funeral, I remember my family came into town, and I said, because I wanted to say something at the memorial, I said, is it possible that I could say something about the family's depression, the history of the family? And my siblings who were in the room, they said, fine, we don't care. I mean, we want you to share that with others. So if you're suffering from depression, if you're suffering from anxiety, I go through it all the time. And I had a counselor say to me one time, you're going to struggle with this for the rest of your life. And I'm not saying that I have a hard time getting out of bed, but it's there. It's always there, and it's always going to be there. But that's a chemical depression for me. So just make sure that you have that in your life. And as a Christian, I can tell you got, the beautiful music tonight was really heartfelt for me. And I think for you, it's a wonderful thing to also have in your life. I just wish I could have done more for Aaron. Again, you really don't see it. You just don't see it there. He was 26 years old. He had a lot going on with his life. I mean, good things, like Tim was saying, smart, very good-looking young man. He had the whole world out in front of him, and I hate to see anybody else ever go through that again. Go through what he went through. It just affects the family for the rest of our life. And my poor sister Amy she's just in a bad place right now. And with me being here with Tim and Kendall and Ann and all of her friends and family who can be there for her, she's getting through it okay. She's a strong, one of the most resilient people I know. So anyways, I thank you for letting me be here tonight. I could go on, but I just wanted to share the fact that I have experienced it. I almost started crying when I saw this picture, and it just reminds me how beautiful of a young man he is. If there's anybody at all who wants to talk to me afterwards, I'd be more than happy to share any questions you have. I'd be more than happy to share my own personal experiences. I'm not a counselor. I can barely counsel myself, so I thank you again. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim and Rick, for sharing. That's powerful stuff, right? So you've seen the effects of Aaron's life and death on just a few of us here, but let me assure you that the impact is reaching far beyond this and will continue to reach far beyond this. So currently, suicide is at a 30-year high in America. It hasn't been this bad since the 80s. Every year, almost 45,000 Americans die from suicide. That's just Americans, 45,000. But what causes it? There are so many people. Why are there so many people choosing to end their lives? And that's where mental health comes in. 1 in 5 people will experience a mental health condition in their lifetime. So if there are 100 of us in this room, and I hope that there's actually more, 20 of us are experiencing one of these diseases. And my guess is that those facts are probably wrong, and that there's probably more. So some of you may be totally bored by this, and others might be intrigued and want to learn more, and I will talk to you for hours on end about this. But no matter where you stand, I can assure you that at some point in your life, mental health is going to affect you. If it's not in you personally, it's going to be in a family member or a friend. And this topic is just too important to gloss over. And so if you're dealing with one of these diseases, or if you think that you're dealing with this, or if you're just going through a hard time, I want you to hear these words. You are not a burden. Your feelings matter. Your struggles matter. You're worthy of love. You are worthy of receiving help. And your life matters. During the next song, a couple of girls are going to pass out a list of some mental health resources. These are websites, phone numbers to call, a crisis text line that you can text if you're feeling down, Instagram and Twitter pages to follow, all kinds of things for you to take. You can take this for yourself, or you can give it to someone who you think really needs it. Also, don't ever, ever, ever be afraid to come and talk to me or John or Eric or any of these investors about something that you're struggling with. We're not counselors, but we can get you help. We can connect you with the right people, and we can be a listening ear. So lastly, I want to address God in the midst of all of this. In one of Aaron's last texts, he had concluded that God was indifferent to our suffering. I must admit that I've felt the same way at times too, but I know that it's simply not true. Psalms 34:18 says that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. God cares. God cares about each and every one of you. He cares so much that he put amazing people in your life to love you, to remind you that you're not alone, and to help you get help. So don't go through this alone. You're too important to go through this alone. Ask for help. I want to end by praying the Lord's Prayer together. So would you join me in saying the prayer that Jesus taught us? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.